Welcome to another episode of You Already Know. Today we're going to talk about forgiveness. And I really wanted to grab paper so that I could sketch, but for some reason my spirit's like, nah girl, we just going to chat today. Good morning, welcome. So let's begin by getting centered. I was going to say let's begin by getting started. And not the truth though. Hey everybody, hey. So if you're just joining, what we're doing today is love with wisdom. Oh snap. Okay. All right, so we're getting centered and started. Everybody's breathing and relaxing. And so if you're new to my work, part of what I do in these broadcasts is offer what I'm calling an energetic transmission, which if you're familiar with Reiki would be kind of like in a similar vein, and that offering a particular vibration for you to practice and feel. I kind of think of it like music. So I'm a hum a song, and often the song that I'm humming is like, it's okay, you're okay. Today I'm going to hum a song that's forgiveness, and I hum, then you hum, and then I hum, and you hum, and over time you start to learn the rhythm yourself. Oh man, I was going to end it and start over, but Spirit is so bossy today. I'll talk a little bit. Nope. Save that for another broadcast. I do have a bunch of work on my YouTube channel that talks about interacting with your own intuitive guidance. And so when I'm referencing my spirit, what I'm really talking about is like a larger non-physical component of myself that has generally a higher perspective, which means not just by the small self, Shaylee, the personality over time. Oh, sorry. When I start to go in the direction, I feel like I can feel we've got work to do today. So, okay, where should we start? Let's start, we started when we were beginning. All right, it feels like our first stop is thankfulness. So perhaps there is somebody or something that you've been working to forgive or know that you could forgive. And often it's like them, the thing, and it's you too. There's a part of you that's like, why did you do this to you? Like, how did you put yourself in that position? Or you knew better. And sometimes you did know better. Nevertheless, so in this forgiveness, let it be kind of twofold. So whoever or whatever you think of, and then also yourself. So you kind of have the little tag along, maybe a fold out paper. So we're going to start by, call to mind whatever it is that you're hoping or wanting to offer forgiveness, and just feels like to hold it in your heart actually, and we'll practice feeling thankful. So embrace it, even if these people, I'm going to go back in time for mine. I'm going to reach back. Hey Kevin, hey guys. We're doing a forgiveness practice today, and so if you're just jumping in and you want to follow along, call to mind something or somebody that you're ready and wanting to forgive, and bring it into your heart space, and offer thanks for the wholeness. Interesting. So with things that are sort of hard, I do find that there's an upside. I published a little post last week or the week before called Trauma, Intergenerational Trauma, the Ouch and the Gift. And I never, ever, ever want to advocate for pain for gain. Because I think that that's part of the trauma mindset, where it's you get used to growing and changing through traumatic events. And while those can be transformational, I think that it's also important to remember that we can grow through natural desire, we can grow through love, we can grow through interest, we can grow through inspiration. We need not only grow through, a good elbow. Hey Robert, lots of love to lots of work to do. So happy I caught you live. Gratitude is key and always raise your vibration. Yes, thank you. Okay, so what we're doing today is a forgiveness practice, and I've been chattering alongside of it, and I'm going to let all of it be sort of like supportive and possible, and so, or supportive and, supportive of our objective. So call to mind the thing that you want to forgive, person, and if you're just joining, I suggested like acknowledge that there'll be something perhaps that's external, and then also a component that's like for you, for whatever, subconsciously you're holding yourself in contempt for in participation. And sometimes it's just like that we let them do it, or that, I don't think when we're talking like us, them, it can be a little tricky. I did a broadcast a couple days ago that talked about like good and bad at one level and good and bad at another level, and how it's important to kind of entertain awareness between the two. And similarly here, it's like you have like us and them, we're all one on one level, and then on the ground it's like the separate portion. Someone commented on my YouTube video yesterday about doing shadow work with their family, and my spirit felt not to like correct or like expand into what she said. She must be like right on path for her, like correct for where she is. But she was saying about offering more compassion and understanding for people in her family that she didn't like, because that they were reflecting back to her elements of herself. So that would be kind of like a oneness interpretation, where you see like, hey, what I'm looking at is me. But on the ground, I think it's also helpful to remember, even though you can see that, doesn't mean you necessarily have to subject yourself to that. So, oh, hey Priya, okay, which means that you can allow and do sort of like the shadow work and also have boundaries. And the paradox is like either or. That was really challenging for me to, let's say like the paradoxical nature of some of these truths had been really challenging for me to embody, because I was going from one pole to the other. Like it all matters, nothing matters, and it's both. And so similarly, like we're all one, they're offering a reflection of you, and yet like you're different, you're separate. And so maybe the best step on the ground is to not answer the phone call, is not to go into the room and expose yourself. But at the same time, you don't need to make it about them being anything. It can just be like, this is what's correct for me. If it's raining, you put on a jacket. If you want to spend the rest of the afternoon talking about how you can't go outside and it's raining, you can. If you want to talk about that time you got wet 15 years ago and it ruined your day, you can. Like, it's your world, baby. But it does seem prudent to take like steps on the ground that minimize, let's say, like negative effects to the system. And sometimes you don't know what those are, and that's okay. So if you're just joining today, I am offering, we are doing a forgiveness meditation, and thus far I've asked the participants to call to mind something that they want to forgive, and to hold it in their heart. And I then also said, and I guess I'm just going to keep repeating whatever, that there's likely a piece that's external or a piece that you can see, and then there's sort of like your self piece of that. Okay, so we've got it in our heart, and we're offering thanks to it because it's grown us in some ways. Offered either depth or compassion or perspective or, a gift, some adaptation that you can use. The next thing I feel or see is like back here, and so just use your right hand actually and cup like the back of your head if that's available to you. Just like you would hold like a baby's head so it didn't fall down, and lean back a little bit into it. To me, this area is synonymous with fear and where we act unconsciously. So the things that hurt you likely adapted or adjusted. Like we use like artificial intelligence flesh machines. So it's like something happens and our body's like, don't worry, I got you. We won't do that again. But sometimes it makes those claims, it writes those programs off of really limited information sets. And so you come to conclude that all families are unsafe, or all expressions will be rejected, where it was just like that one time in that one circumstance. And so it doesn't really serve you to act out of that program because it's not accurate. So right now we're offering, let's see, what are we doing with it back? I see it just kind of like falling down. So just like intend to allow the programming that you've received that doesn't serve your ultimate expansion fall. So, for example, I'm working on forgiving. How specific do I want to be? No, I'm not going to be specific. I try, like, because I'm out here doing this, like, I recognize not everybody in my life opted to be a part of my YouTube channel. And so I don't need to be out here saying, in any case, like, I'm selecting someone from childhood who felt some type of way about me and wasn't aware, an adult who wasn't aware of the impact that they were having. They just weren't aware. Like, they didn't have the self skills to see what, their actions and behavior would have on a child. And so I got some ideas about that, about who I am and what I deserve and what I can have and what's safe, blah, 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 blah. And so I've lived out those, and I'm going to start by being thankful. Cool, what a great experience. Like, I've been riding the good ship Earth, having, like, my own unique little iteration of it. And yet I no longer want those limits, those unreal limits. So I'm letting those fall. You can let whatever ones you fall. You don't need to come up with an explanation. You don't need to be able to identify it. Right now, we're just working with, like, the energy of it. So bring that back there. And now our next step, so we brought it into our heart, and then this is a practice that you can use after this particular meditation. So we brought it into our heart, offered thanks, went to the back and looked at what we can let go, or invited ourselves to let go of any programming that developed as a result of that wrong. And now we're going to come up here to the third eye, to vision. And I want you to try to see what would exist in your life, in yourself, beyond whatever it is that hurt has developed for you behaviorally. So if you no longer had sort of like that problem set or that belief set from that issue, like, what do you think would be beyond that for you? So pick kind of like an afternoon in that life and just drop in, almost like the little Google Maps guy, like Google Maps, drop your little guy in that world and look at you and look around you and kind of like engage with you. What do you feel like? What do you believe to be true? What feels good? What are you motivated by? What are you thinking about? Interview that version of yourself. So if you're just joining today, we are doing a meditation on forgiveness, and we're on the fourth or fifth step now. And this step is about holding the vision of what exists beyond sort of like the wrong. Sometimes we get in these patterns and habits of feeling and thinking some type of way, and it can be at a lower way. Like, we're used to feeling hurt, we're used to feeling rejected, confused, overwhelmed, wronged, whatever, and we're just staying in that rhythm, and we forget that that's not the only song. So let yourself like practice a song that exists beyond that point. So nice that, isn't it? And if it's hard for you to generate this kind of information, like, okay, that's quite all right. It does take a little practice to use sort of like your mind in these ways. It does take a little practice to like generate ideas. That's okay. Let's see what's next. If you guys are just joining, what we're doing today is a forgiveness meditation. We're on the fourth step right now, and the last one is to ground it. And so I mean that quite like literally, in that like see if you can touch the ground and do it with the intention to solidify the work that you've done. And then also let that come out today in your actions. So how can you act from that new place? Like, what in it, a thought is an action, an emotion is an action, a conversation is an action. How can you speak? How can you talk, think, whatever, from a state beyond whatever it is that needs to be done? So it might be that you work from a different assumption. It might be that you allow a little bit more hope or light in your model. It might be that you take a risk, and a risk doesn't mean like, you're at the tables. It could mean that you reach for vulnerability, or you try something new. going back to the ideas that our minds have as far as like these spectrums where it's like, you know, we're everything, we're nothing, you know, like we're all, I think that when we come up with some of, like when we use certain words like risk or vulnerability, it pulls up a menu of options, and sometimes the first option that we think of is like extreme, but there's a spectrum, and find something on the spectrum. And so that's actually a tool I use when I'm training people to do, so I do one-to-one coaching, I guess it's coaching, but basically I'm teaching self-love, which to me basically means like, where can you think about things in a like truer fashion, which means with like less illusion, which means with like more love. And if we're working on physical habits like eating or nutrition, you know, that's another area where people are like black or white, I'm on, I'm off. It's like, no, like I'm eating healthy or I'm not. It's like, nah, girl, there's a spectrum there. Like if you can't pick the highest and greatest option, I generally I ask people to think through some of these things. Like you got the gold level, the silver level, and the bronze level as far as like your targets. Sometimes we're trained to like think of like our goals, like, okay, well, what are you going to do every day forever? And then like day 3, you don't do it. And it's like, oh, I suck. Well, make a spectrum of options. If on day 3, the gold option or the option that you think is best or whatever isn't available because you don't want to do it or you can't do it, pick something else on the spectrum. Like it doesn't have to be all or nothing, which means like if you can't cook from home organic, you know, and you're not able to do this, like it doesn't mean like it doesn't default to fried pizza. Like there are other steps along the way. Hey girl. All right, so if you're just joining, what we did today was a meditation. If you want to watch the playback, it'll be here on Instagram. I'll also put it on YouTube. So I took you through 5 steps. I think it was about 5 steps to forgive and repattern something that might have occurred to you, for you, or to you that limited how you love yourself or how you express in the world. And is there anything else? Yes, what else? No, okay, it also feels like there's an emphasis on knowing, which to me means like simplify your shit. Simplify it. If you're doing healing work and you're doing like either like you're doing the therapy work or you're doing sometimes, and I'm sorry, like I did this, sometimes you will get lost in all your reasoning. Let me tell you why I made that choice, why I said that thing yesterday. No, you don't have to do that. You don't have to like tie everything back to your initial wound. Just take a deep breath at the time that you think that you're acting from that wound or you notice that you have. Offer it love and let the story drop. Sure, like if you've seen my other work, you might have heard me say like, maybe before you drop it, you actually need to sit down with yourself and acknowledge how much it actually sucked, because you might be carrying it around with you, hoping that someone will be like, baby, that sucked so much. You are so strong. How did you do it? Like, how did you make it? You might come across somebody who does that, but likely if you did, you probably wouldn't believe them anyhow. That happened to me once. Someone offered me all of that, and I was like, so you got to give it to yourself. Like, give it to yourself. Let yourself really sit down and see you and be like, tell me all the things that hurt, you know, and then let them rest. Like, take it from here. Anything else today? No, that's it. Okay, that concludes our broadcast. If you're new on YouTube, I've got a lot of new YouTube followers, which is super exciting, subscribers or whatever. If you're new, I've been on Instagram since 2017, kind of documenting and sharing this journey. I called it my spiritual revolution. At times that had been, let's say, escapist, and that I was creatively avoiding some of the more grounded personal work that I had to do. That's okay. Okay. And I've been folding in sort of like the human and divine sides of myself over the last couple years, being able to allow sort of like what I know and what I feel, and just do my best to allow sort of like life to move through me with some level of like intention and leadership and joy. Acknowledge the wound without letting it control your daily life. Jeff, hey. I had to read your name. I forgot. I don't remember why you said your name was that, but it's just funny to see it there. That's like the header to your comment. Yeah, acknowledge the wound without letting it control your daily life. It doesn't, like, every time, like, at least for me, all the times that I was trying to push stuff out of my awareness so that I could focus, you know what I was doing? It was like shoving stuff into a closet that then one day burst out and, like, spilled all over the floor. It's like, no, like, it doesn't work. And not only that, the amount of energy that you use to do that is attention that you're not applying to right here, right now. You're not allowing yourself to see right here, right now. And so the quality of choice that you're making right here, right now is shitty and making more stuff. It's so silly. Like, we're just going to right here. So I'm going to close with offering just a little right here, right now practice. Because this is our destination. Like, there will always... No, sorry. Seem kind of like, that doesn't feel like to say. Sorry, my spirit's real bossy today. The Tao Wu way. Yeah. I don't force, I flow. Great. Thank you everybody for coming out this morning again. Like, this is all on YouTube now. No, that's not a correct statement. I've been moving these I've been pushing these broadcasts out there. If you like to subscribe, I work with clients one-to-one. You can find more information about that on my website, haveabook.com, or use the link in my bio. I also have a little $sign on there if you want a tip for any of the work a tip for any of this stuff that's been helpful to you. I also represent 8 artists now. What? In New Orleans and beyond. So if you're looking for original work, or you want to get commission or a mural, or give some kind of gift or milestone, or if you're an artist yourself, you can come and talk to me. I honestly am not completely sure what I'm doing with that work, but I'm out there and I'm trying. So thank you again for coming out, and Godspeed.